This video is dedicated to my brother Mike, Dr. Michael Horton. Without him, who knows where I'd be today. He's been God sent to me. He's a good brother. Anyway, excuse me, I was born in 1965 in East Los Angeles at a hospital named Los Angeles County Medical Center. Los Angeles County Medical Center General Hospital. That's the hospital I was born. That's the area that we lived in at the time was East Los. Anyway, I grew up on the west side, over by Vermont and New Hampshire, that area, and Franklin, up by close to Los Feliz, but on the ghetto side of Los Feliz. This lower part of Los Feliz is all the hood, the west side. And on this side of Los Feliz, going up the hills, which is Griffith Park, that's all rich area. It's called Los Feliz. That's the area that is located. It's all $1 million homes and little townhouses, where all the movie stars live, in the Hollywood Hills. But yeah, the bottom part is all ghetto. When you get down from the hills there, Los Feliz, with the park, if you get down below the bottom part of Los Feliz Avenue, that's all the hood right there. That's how close the hood is to the movie stars. Anyway, growing up there, my sister, she got jumped into West Side 18th Street. And all her homeboys were from 18. They all went to Franklin Junior High. No, my bad, not Franklin Junior High. That's in Long Beach. King Junior High. They went to King Junior High. Bobby and Frankie and all them vatos. Cisco, Big Cisco, Gus, Patsy Romero, all the OGs from 18 from the west side. My camarada Johnny Reyes and his brother Sal Reyes, and her homeboys were like Big Cisco and Frankie and them, Bobby, Patsy and all that. Those were her homies that she hung out with. I hung out more with Gus over on Normandy. Gus and Johnny and Sal Reyes, those were my boys. But anyway, I wasn't from 18, but I backed it up because my sister used to ride on my Chuck Taylors, the tennis shoes we used to wear back then. She would write WSXV111ST for West Side 18th Street. So when we were living there, I got into trouble. I was starting already to box at what was that place called? Oh man, it's been so long. It was for the Marine Corps. That's right there, going towards Orange County. I want to say El Toro Marine Base. But anyway, it was a Marine center where the Marines trained and all that. I want to say El Toro was a Marine base that we used to go out and train at. We'd go in vans from the PALS, Police Athletic League sponsor. That's what it's called, PALS. And they would take us in vans to go train there at that Marine center. The Marines would work with us too. They had a good boxing program. But anyway, I started getting in fights at school, so the social worker took me away from my mom, and she put me in a boys' home named Sycamore Boys' Home. It's probably still there, up in Altadena, next door to Pasadena. So that's where my life of prison time really started, was in that boys' home, because the kids that were there were already 16, 17. I was only 11. They were already 16, 17, getting ready to turn 18. And we would go to school there in Altadena, and we stood out big time because we were all like, cholitos, and an all-white school. So every day after school, we were getting in fights with these big old corn-fed white kids that didn't like us boys from the hood going to their school. So it was on and cracking every day after school. Anyway, so when I left the boys' home, um, my mom finally came and got me, and she said, "Look, man, you're getting in too much trouble. You've been going in and out of the hall too, juvenile hall. When you were 9 years old, you were going in and out of the juvenile halls. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. I started going to different, juvenile halls like Central Juvenile Hall because that's in LA. Sometimes they would send us to Silmar, which was over there in the San Fernando Valley, Silmar Juvenile Hall, Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall. I went to San Diego Juvenile Hall once. But anyway, I was always in and out of the halls. I was already doing time in a boys' home. So Mom said, we're moving to Long Beach. My dad, he's Mexican American, Antonio Zambrano, rest in peace. He was a World War II vet. May he rest in peace. My dad and my mom was Colombian, Haiti. She was born in Colombia. Rest in peace as well. My dad said it's time to move out of LA. So he wasn't with my mom at the time, but he always supported us from in the shadows. He was always he was there, but he wasn't. Pretty much. But he always took care of us with money and helped us with the rent and everything like that. So Dad did his part, but he always had a lot of different girlfriends, so he didn't like to be tied down. He was a player, basically. So Pops helped us, and he relocated us to Long Beach. When I rolled up in Long Beach, I already knew about Whittier Boulevard and all that because my sister would take me with her and her homeboys to cruise the boulevard when we were little. And so we briefly moved to Van Nuys for a little bit. And the vatos from Sol 13, Chico and all them, they welcomed us really, really cool, man. They were cool as hell, and the vatos from Barrio Van Nuys as well. Neto and his brother, I forgot his brother's name. Neto and I can't remember. He was from Barrio Van Nuys. They were feedmen as hell with us, the guys from the Valle. And the Chico from Sol 13, Sun Valley, he was cool as hell, and his brother too. Wino, his brother was Wino. Anyway, he even tried to help me get my boxing career on the road. He started taking me to the Jet Center in Van Nuys to train with Blinky Rodriguez, Benny the Jet Urquidez, the kickboxing legend. They make comic books of him still in Japan. He was a Mexican American. The whole family was a 7th degree black belts. He's still around, Benny. He's still teaching here and there, sensei, kickboxing, martial arts. Blinky is doing commentator. He's a commentator for boxing and kickboxing. Anyway, so Blinky helped me a little bit to try to, get me back on track with the boxing, but that didn't last long. A couple of weeks later, I was back in Long Beach because we had already moved to Long Beach, and I was already hanging out with the homeboys and shit. So when I went to school one day at St. Anthony's Elementary, the homies met me outside, and it was Pancho, Burrito, Payaso, rest in peace, Flaco, my neighborhood brother, little Flaco, Vasquez, Frankie, he was there, rest in peace, Pee-wee, his brother, Pee-wee wasn't jumped in yet, but he used to hang around with them, little Cricket, and all them, Payaso, rest in peace, little Flaco, rest in peace, Wizard, the homeboy Wizard, the homies that were already jumped in met me outside of the school, and that's when Pancho said, "What's up, homie? You from 18?" I'm like, "Nah, I just they saw it on my shoes, on my Chuck Taylors, those Converse that we used to wear back then. I still would write WSXV111ST for West Side 18th Street, and they saw that on my shoes, on the soles of my Converse, and he's like, that's 18, homie. This is Longo. What's up? You want to get jumped into Eastside Longo?" So I saw I was surrounded, so I said, "Well, let's see what's up." And so I went with them to the shack, and we hung out at the Callejon, 10th Street in Alamitos. They call it the Callejon. That's where the vatos from Villanueva, our older homies, were posted up. And the homies from Cerritos, Negro, and them, rest in peace, from Eastside Longo. He was a Cerritos street boy, and he was a big old dealer, rest in peace. And he had his 49 Fleet line, all custom front and back hydraulics and everything, a Virgin Mary on the trunk. It was a nice 49 Fleet line. He used to let me park it. He'd say, go park it across the street because the trash, the street sweeper's coming. So he'd throw me the keys and boom, I'd start it up with the glass backs. Boom, 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 I'd wrap the pipes. Little ass motherfucker, 12 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old. So I would turn it around and park it in front of Ida's house, the black lady that used to let us kick it at her house. So I was already helping, to deliver drugs and here and there, making runs and shit for the homie, and he would pay me. Anyway, so the homies from Villanueva were already posted up right there at Negros, and then the Callejon on 10th Street in Alamitos. Callejon was 10th Street in Alamitos, but if you walked up the street to Cerritos, the next block, his brother Pete, Negro's brother Pete, had a house right there, and his other brother Chicano had across the street on Cerritos and 10th. So that was all our little hood right there, We had it all sold up, all family and shit, Pancho lived on 10th and Alamitos in the front house where Annette and them lived. Lisa and Monica, Rita's daughters, Pancho's sisters, they all lived up front. His grandma, rest in peace. And we hung out in the back of that pad, of Pancho's pad, and the shack, we called it, that was our clubhouse, Chico's Malo shack, the bad boys, Chico's Malos. Anyway, so I was, running around with the little 22 pistol on me and what have you, thinking I was that guy. I already knew what the boulevard was about because my sister would take me cruising with their homies down to East LA, to Whittier Boulevard, and we would, see the homegirls and shit walking up and down the boulevard, all feathered back hair and long black hair with the little orange dye in the front, with their little trench coat and their little 501s with the baby cuff, their hush puppies all creased up. Yeah, it was nice, man. The girls looked really nice back then, and healthy too. So, I was already familiar with all that. I'd already been getting in fights when I was in the boys' home, when I lived in LA, at the Sycamore Boys' Home. I was already getting in fights up there. So, I was already used to the juvenile halls, going in and out of the halls. So when I moved to Long Beach, that's where it really got crazy because, like I said, I got jumped in 1976 at the age of 12 to Eastside Longo, my barrio. And back then, we were just a little hood. We only had two clicas, which was my clique, the Chicos Malos clique, club, right? And then we had the Villanueva, Eastside Longo Villanueva, which was the older homies. We only had those two cliques. There wasn't no other cliques yet. They came later. So when I got jumped in 76, those were the only two cliques. We were a small little neighborhood. We're huge now. There's a lot of us. We're everywhere. We're out of state too now. But anyway, back then we were just 100 and something homies, from between all of the two cliques. Between all of us in the two cliques, it was just 100 and something vatos, man. We're a small neighborhood. Now we're in the thousands. But anyway, so that was our hangout. It was the Callejon or Cerritos Street. And if you went to 14th Street in Monteperro, that area up there, that was the homies from Villanueva. But they would come to the Callejon and kick it with us because we had all the guns in the club shop. We were little fucking traviesos, what you call little Dennis the Menace little motherfuckers, like getting in trouble all the time because we had all the guns in the shack. 22 rifles and little 25 automatic, semi-automatic little pistols and 22s. We had all the little handguns and 45 every now and then, but usually they were little caliber and shotgun. We had a 12 gauge shotgun pump. That was about the only thing we had that was high caliber. Everything else was small little 22s, 25s. But anyway, they did the job, for protection. Anyway, so the vatos from Villanueva, if they weren't on 14th Street and Monteperro, they were with us on 10th Street, chilling at the shack with us. We used to let them use the shack to shoot up and everything. That's when I started knowing about heroin, watching the older homies shoot up in the shack. So by the age of 12, I was already jumped into Eastside Longo. They jumped me in at the Callejon on 10th and Alamitos, right there where the shack was, in the backyard right there of Pancho's pad, which was a big backyard. That's where I got jumped in, 76. So the following year, I was already doing heroin at the age of 13. I was stealing, the homies' syringes, the new ones, and I watched how they do it, and so I would buy a bag from one of the older homies, tell them it was for somebody else, and they would sell it to me thinking it was me buying it for somebody else, and then I would go open it and do exactly what they would do, pour the powder. It was back, they called it salt and pepper back then, because it was black and white powder. So I would pour that into the little bottle cap, squirt some water in there, cook it up, and draw it up, and slam it. And I did exactly what they did, so it wasn't really hard to know how to do it because I was watching them do it daily in the shack. The older homies already knew what to do, and I had a lot of veins back then, so it was easy to get a hit, and I started liking it, and I was getting high all the time, smack back and doing crazy shit. Man, I some of the stuff I can't talk about because it was like really evil and crazy and wicked, like some of it I just don't want to speak on, even though it was a long time ago. I just don't want to go there. It's just not me anymore. So I'll talk about some of it, kids, just so you know what you're going to get involved in if you get into a hood, into a body, or if you get jumped into a gang. So I started going in and out of the halls while living in Long Beach, while representing Eastside Longo. I was going in and out of LP, Los Padrinos Juvenile Hall. I was going to camp. I went to Camp Kilpatrick the first time. Then I got in a fight with my homeboy Spider because he had told on one of the homies, supposedly from the Chicos. So I ended up fighting with him up there in Kilpatrick, so they sent me to Gonzales, and then in Gonzales I got my nose broke fighting with some biker dude that was way older than me. I was only like 12, he was already 17, 5 years older than me, real big biker dude. He looked Mexican, he had long black hair, but he was a biker. My homeboy Gypsy was in the main line with him. He was in the hole with me, and he said, your homeboy Gypsy, he's here in Camp Gonzales. And I said, yeah, that's my homeboy from my clique. And then he just popped me, boom, broke my nose. I guess he got in a fight, that's why he was in the hole with Gypsy. He got caught, Gypsy did it, something like that, something of that nature. So he took it out on me, he broke my nose. I started fighting with them in the shower. There was water running, there was blood everywhere. The cop, the counselor, they call him in the halls and in camps back then, LA County, Los Angeles County Juvenile probation camps, LA County probation camps. He came running in and he slipped on all that blood and water and he fell. So they gave both of us a new ad charge for assault on staff because he got hurt trying to break us up. So they took us out to court. I went back to the hall. He went to the hall as well. While we're in the day room, I was just a little guy, 12 years old. So the older black dude and Mexican asked me, what happened, homie? Why is your nose all crooked and shit? And I'm like, that fool right over there broke my nose. I was already planning to get him. I was just waiting for the counselor to move. And these two guys were going to the youth authority, YA, which is state, California Youth Authority. They weren't going to camp, LA County probation camps. They were going to the state of California, which is the California Youth Authority, Norwalk, SRCC Norwalk, which I went to later on in my life. But back then I was still doing juvenile hall time, LA County juvenile hall time probation camp time. Anyway, so he says, what? The black guy says, which one? I said, the dude with the long hair over there, sitting by the counselor. He was sitting by the counselor, so I couldn't get him. And they said, don't trip, little homie, we're going to YA. We got this, him and this other vato, who's a Chicano, black guy. I don't know if he was a Crip or a Blood. I just know he was a black dude. And a Mexican, Chicano, both of them walked over there. And right in front of the counselor, they just started beating this dude down. Motherfucker, you like to beat up on little guys, little homies, fuck with me, punk. And the black guy was hitting him, the Chicano was hitting him. I mean, they busted this dude up. So the counselor got up off the chair and he restrained one, and another counselor came running in and they restrained the other one. The Chicano and the black guy were both restrained now, and the dude was on looking down on the ground and trying to clean up the blood that he was leaking from his face. And I grabbed the counselor's chair and I hit him, boom, with the chair real hard. I got mines too, and they tackled me now. So now me, the black guy, and the Chicano, we go to the hole for a minute. They took me to outside hospital because I needed to get my nose rebroken because the dude broke my nose. You know, it was still real crooked. So they took me out right away and drove me to the hospital where I was born, General Hospital, which is right there close to Central Juvenile Hall, where they took us from the Camp Gonzales when we got into a fight. And they gave us a nat charge. They took us back to Central Juvenile Hall. That's near General Hospital where I was born, East Los, on the east side. So, in East Los, so they took me there. And I had a lot of run-ins at that hospital, even though I was not from LA anymore. I was from Long Beach, which is 45 minutes away. I ended up in that hospital many times while I was in the LA County jail as an adult. I'll get into that in a little bit. But anyway, that was my first time going back to where I was born, General Hospital, to get my nose fixed because it was broken from fighting with this idiot in the shower that I hit with the chair. So now I got another charge for hitting the dude with the chair. Anyway, we go to court in LA. I don't remember what court it was. I was just a kid that was in LA County in Los Angeles. It was probably CCB for all I know, from the courts building downtown LA where I went to later on as an adult when I used to run around downtown LA. Anyway, so they took us out to court and the judge said, oh, wait a minute, this guy's 17, this guy's 12, he's way smaller than him. So what happened, guys? Neither one of us wanted to talk. We were like, nah, we don't know what happened. We slipped and fell. No. You guys got into a fight. You don't want to talk about it. You guys don't want to snitch on each other. I get it, the judge said. So we're going to just make it a mutual combat because you're twice his size. He told the Mexican guy that had long hair, the biker looking dude, David Brabico was his name. He told him, he said, you're twice his size. He had all the right to hit you with a chair because he's way smaller than you. So we're just going to call it mutual combat and just drop the charge of assault and battery. So they dropped it. We went back to camp. He went back to Gonzales, and I ended up going because I was a senior lockup camp. That's where my uncle Gypsy was. He was already almost 17. And this dude that broke my nose, David, he was already 17. I was 12, so they sent me from Gonzales to Kilpatrick, which is a junior lockup camp. It means you're not in an open campground. You have a fence, a tall fence with barbed wire on top that runs around the perimeter of the dorms. It's A dorm, B dorm, and A dorm is the box, the hole. That's what they called it back then. The hole was called the box. They would send you to the box for fighting. B and C dorm. I was in C dorm, so I was getting in fights all the time. Back then, we were very few of us from Longo, so I was the only dude from Longo on the yard right there at that camp. Camp Kilpatrick. So I was boxing left and right with the enemies from Weedmonds, Hawaiian Gardens, even, other hoods that didn't like us. So I was always in the box. But anyway, that's the movie they made, the Gridiron Gang with The Rock. That's a real camp. That's the camp I was at, Camp Kilpatrick. So anyway, I ended up doing 6 months there. I get out. I was going in and out. Now I'm at 14 years old, and I get shot. Some car rolls up on us. We were just getting out of school. It was me and Pancho and the homies from the Dukes. Now they got a clique that's Eastside Longo Dukes, 14th Street Dukes. They're around now, and they're getting deep. So we were chilling with them, me and Pancho, and on Hoffman and Anaheim. So at the time we were going at it with Westside Longo. We had a war. The Eastside Longo and the Westside Longueros were going at it. We had an internal war going on. So anyway, it was drive-by shootings back then in the 70s, 1979. So when the car pulled up, it was a 64 Nova, primer spots all over. It was all beat up. It was a gang-banging car. I looked in and I could see two dudes, and then I saw the homies over here with the homegirls talking. Kids, we're all kids getting out of school, junior high. And then I saw the gun come out. I heard, fuck the cheese side, because I heard, where you vatos from? And the homie said, East Side Longo, Dukes, Chicos, Malo. Anyway, so this guy in the car said, fuck the cheese side, puro West Side Longo. And that's when the gun came out. So I was in between two cars peeing. I was the closest to this car, so I ran up and tried to grab the gun. And when I tried to grab it, I looked right in his eyes. He turned and looked at me. He had a bandana like a pirate over his face, over his head, a blue bandana covering his eyebrows, kind of low, you know, but I could still see his eyes. And he looked surprised. His eyes got like big when he saw me running up to grab the gun. And he went like this. He turned, and when he turned like that, I tried to grab it. And when I tried to grab it, he shot me through the. I had a big 2 times extra large shirt. Back then I was a little guy, so that thing was huge. Anyway, so he shot me through the sleeve of my shirt, and it hit my lung, punctured my lung, and ricocheted inside me. Doc said my insides looked like Swiss cheese. And the homies didn't know what to do. They were all shermed out and shit. You know, we were smoking dust. They were like, hey, homie, what's up? What's wrong? And I'm like, man, trying to get up. I'm shot. And I kept trying to get up, and I would fall. And as I was doing that, more blood was going into my lung. So when the paramedics got there, they found me on the ground, and they saw that I kept trying to get up, and I would fall back down. And the paramedics said, just lay there, man. Every time you try to move, you're making more blood circulate and go into your lung. Just lay still so your blood pressure, you know, calms down. Because every time you do keep trying to get up and fall, you're causing more blood to go into your lung once again. So just lie there. So I did, and I remember going in and out of blackness. You know, I was dying. I was going in and out because the blood was already coming out my nose and my mouth. I was spitting up big old loogies of blood and pieces of my lung. It was all bad, man. The homie Chico said later, I asked him just a few years ago, now that we're both old men, if there was a lot of blood on me, and he said it was blood everywhere. I don't remember that because I was sherm as well, smoking sherm, so I was all high on that shit too. So I just remember little stuff like going in and out of darkness. I remember that. And now I'm coming to my senses, and I'm in pain because I can feel this bullet that hit my spine is starting to hurt really bad now, my backbone, my spine, because that's where the bullet lodged in the T9 vertebrae, the little vertebrae that you got like that, it lodged in the T9. So thoracic spine, they call it. And at the age of 14, your bones are still growing. So Doc said that the bone would eventually grow over the bullet. At the age of 14, your bones are still growing. He explained it like that. He said the bone will grow over it, and it will become part of the spine. We can't take it out, because if we do, you might be paralyzed forever, because I was already not feeling my legs, but I could every now and then move my toes. So the doc said that's a good sign. You're gonna walk, hopefully. But at first, he said, when I got to the hospital, he said, hey kid, I gotta open you right away. I gotta put a chest tube in your lung to drain the blood out. He said, I'm sorry, I can't even give you an aspirin, because if I do, you're gonna die of blood poisoning, because you're bleeding internally as we speak. Your lung is filling with blood. So you have internal bleeding. If I even give you one aspirin, you'll die of blood poisoning. I can't give you nothing, sorry. He said, make peace with your God, because you're not going to survive, kid. It's too much trauma for a 14-year-old. You're not going to make it. So make peace with your God once again. He had 2 big nurses hold me down like this with my arm over my head. They cut off my t-shirt, my slingshot and everything to the side. And I'm looking like this, and I see the trays. He's putting a mask on. Dr. Benedict, rest in peace. He's probably dead by now. He was already retiring, ready to retire back then in 1979, so he's probably dead. He was already an older man then. Anyway, so he said, once again, make peace with your God. He goes, I'm sorry, I can only put an ice pack over your side for a couple of seconds to numb it. But he said, you're going to be in a lot of pain. You'll go into shock and you'll die. So make peace with your God once again, kid. That's what he kept telling me. Make peace with your God. He was a Christian man, I guess, the doctor. So as they held me down, I remember he said, take the ice pack away. And that's when he cut me open, and he stuck his finger into my rib cages, and he started breaking my ribs apart. And I'm looking down and I'm screaming, help me, please, God. Let me die. I was saying all kinds of crazy stuff, screaming at the top of my lungs. They could hear me all the way in the waiting room. My mom, rest in peace, and my dad, my Chicano dad, Tony, rest in peace, and all the homies that were there that day, they could hear me screaming all the way in the lobby. That's how loud I was screaming. And I remember him, when he had my rib cage, I could see my heart like slide over, and I could see it pumping through the hole of my heart. And that's when he told the nurse, stick the rib separator into his rib cage, and she put two like metal prongs into my rib cage that he was holding open, and then he started turning it and started going like that, breaking the ribs apart like a chicken bone. When you're eating and you break it, that's what it felt like. That's what the freaking felt like breaking a chicken bone when you crack a chicken bone. And I felt that on my side right here, and then she stuck the prongs in like that, and he started turning the handle on it, and it started breaking my ribs apart to where it was a nice big hole now. And that's when I remember saying, I looked and I saw the big hole, my heart pumping, and I saw him starting to stick the chest tube into my lung, and I screamed because it was so painful. I said, God, please let me die. And I remember I blacked out. And I was up there now, and my spirit was looking down, and I could see them working on me. Doctor saying, we lost him. Bring the whatever that thing's called that shocks your heart. Back then, it wasn't that advanced, but I forgot what they call it. Anyway, he said, bring that to revive him. And so I remember them from up there looking down. I could see all of them around me, the two big nurses that was holding me down. They let me go, and they were right there working on me too. And the lady came running in with that machine, and they put it on me, and they tried to shock me. And I remember seeing all that, and then I looked up, and it was all darkness up there, blackness, and I started getting scared. I said, man, God, I'm all alone up here. I know I'm dead. I said, man, I don't want to be here by myself. I started feeling really scared. I ain't gonna lie, kids. I started praying to God to just please, help me. I don't want to be here by myself. I know I'm dead. I don't know where I'm going, but then like a big screen flashed in front of my eyes, and I saw all the good things I did. 14 years old, you really haven't lived life that long, so there's not too much bad really going on at the time. But they showed me getting jumped into the hood and the guy home, and it showed me helping a kid that fell at school, and I helped him get up and got him back on his bike, and got a napkin out that all those kids carry for our runny noses, because we're runny nosed little kids. I took that out and I put it on his knee because it was bleeding. It showed all the good stuff that I had done in that short period, and all the bad stuff, getting jumped into the hood, calling God a fake one day, and the cross fell to my feet in my mom's living room when we still lived in LA. When I said, your God is fake, Mom. He's not real. And the cross came from the wall. It was nailed to the wall. It fell off to my feet. I saw that again. And I said, oh, wow, God, please forgive me for that. I was just a little runny-nosed kid. Back then, 10 years old, I didn't know what I was saying. Please forgive me for that. I'll never say your name in vain again, God. Anyway, that's when two big lights came on. And in the lights, I saw a man with blonde hair and green eyes, and a lady with long hair. You could tell was up in a bun like this. You could tell she had like long Native American hair. She looked Native American. She had a big smile on her face. And the man started talking in Spanish. He said, Armandito, no tengas miedo. Where you're going is paradise. You're not alone. We're your family. So don't be scared. Come on, mijo. He was talking in Spanish. Take my hand. Agarra mi mano. Porque donde vas es paraíso. No tengas miedo, mijo. Somos tu familia. We're your family once again. And I said, God, disregard that prayer where I was screaming and saying to let me die because I couldn't take the pain. I said, disregard that, God. Please just let me go back down there. I know those people are dead. I don't know who they are, but, they look like they're nice people and all that, but I know they're dead. So I said, please just let me go back down there, my spirit. I'll take the pain, whatever pain I have to take, I'll take it. Even as a 14-year-old, I said, please, God, someday I'll do something to make you proud of me. Right now I'm a little gangbanger. I'm from the hood, but if you let me go back down there, I promise you someday I'll do something to make you proud of me. And when I said that second prayer, I opened my eyes, and exactly the way it was from up there when I was looking down, it was the same way, but I was looking at their faces now, not the back of their heads from up there. And they were all working on me. They saw me open my eyes. They said, Doc, he came back. We revived him. And he's like, oh, thank God. And he's like, darn kid, you got a strong will to survive. You came back from death. He said, man, wow, this kid got a strong will to survive. Nurses, look at him, man. He was dead and came back to life. Like, wow. And anyway, he's like, you proved me wrong twice, kid. I told your mom that you weren't going to survive, and then I said that you would never walk again if you did survive, because the bullet damaged your spinal cord and all the, nerves and tendons and whatever's back there. I forgot what he called them, the nerves and all that are in the spinal cord area, the spinal cord. Yeah, that's what he said. And it damaged it. He'll never walk in. He said, so you proved me twice. You proved me wrong twice. When I said you were going to die, to make peace with your God, you came out of it alive, and you came out of the hospital walking. He said, so you proved me wrong twice. He says, wow, in all my 40 years as a surgeon, I've never seen a kid your age survive the trauma that you just went through. He said, so when you leave this hospital, kid, get your life together, because you're going to go places in life with that kind of will to survive. You're going to go places. And I told him, thank you, Doc. And I left in a wheelchair because I was too weak. I could walk, but they gave me a walker, and the bottle that had the blood coming out of my lung was attached to the walker, and I would walk around the hospital here and there, like a few feet only, and I'd have to go back to bed. I was too weak. So when I left, they pulled the freaking chest tube. Oh, that was painful too. When he said, 1, on 3, I'm going to pull it. He went, 1, 2, bang, and he pulled it. I said, I thought you said on 3, dog. He's like, I wanted to catch you off guard. So I told you 3, but I pulled it on 2. So that it would catch you off guard and it wouldn't hurt that much. Oh my God, that was painful. 2 kids. Man, that was a hell of a surgery, that chest tube insertion. But anyway, later I found out that my grandpa Zambrano was a blonde-haired, green-eyed Spaniard from my dad, and that my grandma was a Mexican native from Silver City, New Mexico, when it still belonged to Mexico. It wasn't USA yet. She was a Mexican Indian, Native American from Mexico, old Mexico. Like I said, Silver City wasn't USA yet. It was still part of old Mexico. It was under the Mexican flag still. So my grandma was Mexican native, and my grandpa was a blonde-haired, green-eyed Spaniard, and that's who I saw up there in those circles of lights. Like when you die, you guys will see when your time comes, your life flashes before your eyes. Look, I want to tear up, man. It's a very traumatic situation, but I'm going to be strong and not start tearing up. But anyway, you'll see your life flash before your eyes. Somebody that you love that might be close to you, or that might have been your family member that you never got to meet. Somebody that cares about you is going to meet you in the afterlife. When my mom died, she said the same thing. She goes, "Están en un barranco. That means cliffs. Barranco means cliffs." She said it right before she died. She said, "Tu papá y mi mamá," her mom and my dad, Antonio the Chicano, father of mine, that they were waiting for her by some beautiful cliffs, and waiting for her to die. And then next day she died. So I guess they were already letting my mom know that they were going to be there waiting for her too. It's a traumatic story, and it's sad, but I need to get it out there. I need to spread God's message. So never again did I say the word God, D-A-M, that word that people use a lot, God, D-A-M. I don't say that no more, because I saw how powerful God was. God is the most powerful. For him to let me die and bring me back the way he did, man, that is more power than anything on this earth, because take your life and then give it back to you like he did for me is something out of divine power. It's like nothing that I could even imagine on this earth, that kind of power, the Lord God Almighty, Jesus Christ, he's a real God and true God, but I wouldn't want to cross him. I got to see a little of the afterlife. I didn't get too far in my death, but I did get to see the people waiting for me. I saw how my life flashed before my eyes. So whatever you're doing, like all these politicians that are starting these wars, you're going to be accountable for all that stuff when you die. Believe you me, mark my words, when you're dead and you see what you did during your life, remember me, Mando. Remember these words that I'm telling you. We are accountable for our actions on this earth. So if I were you guys that are starting all these wars and everything, I think you better think twice about all that and stop all that madness, dropping bombs on schools and where little girls are and all that. Because you will be accountable, people. Believe you me. Anyway, so I still continued to gangbang after I got out of the hospital. I was being pushed around my neighborhood in a wheelchair by my homegirls. They weren't from my barrio, they were from Artesia, but they grew up with us, homies from Longo, Dimples and Terry from Artesia. They would push me around the wheelchair, and one time I fell and they both carried me to my homeboy Negro's pads, and Negro said, man, what were they giving you in the hospital? And I told him codeine number 4s and morphine, and he's like, oh man, that's what's happening. While you're sweating and shaking with the chills, you're dope sick. You need a little bit of this. And he sprinkled some heroin on a mirror, and he said, here. He rolled up $1, and he said, snort that. So I snorted it. A couple of minutes later, the chills were gone, the runs and the septic, throwing up and all that was gone. I was back to normal. So that's when I really started using drugs after being shot. So then when I went to the youth authority, YA, we were in the day room at Cabrillo in SRCC Norwalk. That's reception for YA. Then from there you go to Paso Robles or to YTS or to the Whittier Nellis, to Nellis. That's like a reception center for prison as well, before you go to Soledad, Tracy, Folsom, San Quentin. Same thing, you go to a reception in YA, and that's SRCC Norwalk. That's for the Southern Reception Center and Clinic, SRCC. And then the Northerners, they go to NRCC, Northern Reception Center and Clinic. When your Northerners go there up north. We go, the guys from LA, we go to Southern Reception Center and Clinic, Southern California. Pretty much self-explanatory there, right? So anyway, so while I'm there, we get into a big old race riot. Us in the cribs, we get into a big fight in the day room. One of them fell on my ankle and crushed my ankle, so now I got a broken ankle. I went back to LCMC from that jail too now, which is YA. Back to where I was born. Man, that hospital they saw me come to life, and then they saw me get my nose broke and get fixed there, and then I go later on to the youth authority. Now I got a broken ankle, and I'm going back to LCMC. That's where everybody that was in custody in the LA County area would go to. That was the hospital where I was born, General. Anyway, so now I'm going to get a cast. They want to do surgery, put a pin in it, and then I refused it. Doc said, one of these days you'll step off the curb and it'll re-break. I need to put a pin in it. I said, no, I already got a bullet in my spine. I don't want no more metal in my body, Doc. You just don't know what it's like to have metal when it's cold in your spine. Now, one in my ankle, no, I'm cool. I said, well, I'll take my chances. To this day, yeah, I broke it one more time here in Vegas fighting. But, it's pretty much held up, except for that one time that I got in a fight here at behind the Stratosphere. Back then it was Vegas World. The Azteca room, the bar that's right there in the back. I got in a fight with Luis, Cool's old man. We got into it. This girl from Hawaii, we were both messing with her, and she had a kid from him, and we ended up fighting. And he stepped on my ankle, and I accidentally hit the curb where the car is parked, the little block that's right there in the back of the Azteca room. I stepped on that, and cracked my ankle. I broke my ankle, so now I re-break it. I mean, I had so many accidents. I got stabbed. I got hit with the machete right here in my. Let me see if you guys can see it. Right here in my shoulder. If you can see that scar. Yeah, you can see it. That's a scar right there. It's a big scar. You can see it runs all the way up. And I have a bunch of other scars all over my body. The one right here in my lung, if you can see here. Where they stuffed the chest tube. another one of my battle scars. I mean, I got them everywhere. I got stab wounds all over my stomach and in my back. I got stabbed twice in my back. My daughter's mom held the towel over the 2 holes in my back where I got stabbed with a dagger. She held the towel there all night long, my daughter's mom. Thanks to her, I didn't bleed out. I didn't bleed to death. And I woke up and she was still there all night. She had her hands like that on the towel holding it. And she fell to sleep, but she had her weight still on top of it. And she went to sleep on my back. And I woke up and I said, "Hey girl, wake up." And she got up and her hands were still like that against the towel. So she put more weight on her hands were holding the towel. She put more weight on it when she went to sleep, and she fell forward like that. That helped it to stay firmly against my 2 holes that I had in my back, right by my spine. Again, I almost got paralyzed when he stabbed me with the 2 daggers. Some kid, he said, "Hey, you know Porky?" It was like 2 in the morning. I was walking down Walnut, and I got to 11th Street, and Insane Sugar lived there. We used to call her Mama. She's from Insane Sugar. She lived right there, Darlene Short. And my girl was up there with her, and I was getting there, just rolling up with some dope, and this dude was standing by the stairs that go up to her pad, and he was tall, skinny Chicano, and he was younger, and he said, "You know your homeboy Porky and his brother," I forgot his brother's name, what's his brother's name, Porky, and I forgot his brother's name, it was just too long ago. Anyway, so I said, "Yeah," and he's like, "How they doing?" I said, "I don't know, I haven't seen them tonight, but they're around." And he's like, "Orale, Holmes," and he put his hand like that. When I shook it, he pulled me forward, and he went, boom, boom, he stabbed me twice with a long dagger. And so I looked back, I went back a little, and I said, "You motherfucker," and I went at him to fuck him up, and he took off running. And I tried to chase him, but I was now losing too much blood. It was just squirting out of my back. The dagger left 2 big holes in my back. It was a long dagger too, and he got it in deep. He hit me with all this. When he pulled me down, he went boom, boom, twice, real hard. I'm surprised that I wasn't paralyzed that time, because the holes are right by my spine. My girl was telling me they're like right next to my spine, 2 deep. The gashes. Anyway, so I went upstairs, and they said, "What happened?" I was full of blood now. I had a white t-shirt on, and I said, "I just got stabbed downstairs." And so Darlene and my girl carried me to her room, Darlene's room, and she laid me on my stomach and gave Rosie a towel, and she held it on my back. But anyway, so all these battle scars are part of the game, man. You start gang banging, and you sit at the table with the devil, and you play his game. Card game, you're sitting there with that devil, and you're playing cards. Sooner or later, you're going to end up losing. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to be 6 feet under, and you're going to be up there like I was. So if I were you kids, I would just stay away from that way of life, because it's not worth it in the end. All the times I was in prison, slipping my cuffs, hiding in the room while I'm already in the hole, and we're going out to yard, and I tell my cellie, "Today's the day, homie," because the big homie gave us a green light to move on this idiot that was talking smack over the tier. "Fuck Mondo from Longo, this is a crit motherfucker, and this and that, and I'm down with Insane, we're going to kill you motherfucker when we catch you." I don't want to say it's hood, but they were down, you guys know what I'm talking about, they were down with Insane. They were like road dogs, and this fool was talking shit, so he was disrespecting the Mexican. You know what? They're all heroin addicts. There's none of them here. And the guy that was right next door to him was a big homie from Sereno. You guys know what I'm talking about. Big guy. He was right next to him. And so he was like, "Yeah, if you can get out of your cuffs and hide in that room, go for it, homie. Are you sure you can do it?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Because we're going to get shook down and lose all kinds of shit. Like wine, knives, and all kinds of shit. So are you sure you can do it?" I'm like, "Yeah, I got this." And he's like, "Okay." He gave us the green light. So my cellie Spanky, I told him, "I'm going to put a towel roll with a shank in it right next to the rolled up mattress." Because I had the bottom bunk, he had the top. And I said, "I'm going to get searched first, dog. That way they'd strip search me, look at the bottom of my feet, turn around, bend over and cough, and I'll turn around and look inside your mouth. Okay, then they cuff you. So I said, what I'm going to do is once they cuff me, I'm going to go and switch the towel roll that he already searched and looked into and saw there's nothing in there, rolled it back up and gave it to me, and then he cuffed me from behind my back. When I move forward to let you get searched while you're blocking, because he was a big dude, when you're blocking the cop's vision, I'm going to switch the towel roll and get the towel roll that has a shank in it. So I had put grease along the sink, 3 Flowers hair grease, to put on my hand to slip my cuffs. So while they're searching him, I go up to the freaking sink, and I get the little bit of grease, and I put it on my wrist like this. So when I went like this to get handcuffed, I put the towel up, so he cuffed me up here, see? And now when he cuffed me up here, because the towel was blocking this part, he cuffed me up here, I was able to do this, see? Because the forearm is thicker than the wrist. So he cuffed me up here. That was the secret of they called me Houdini. The cops called me Houdini after that. Anyway, that was my trick. That's how Houdini came out of his cuffs. I went like this, boom. And that's when I hid in that room. The classification room was empty. So when I go down, I'm already coming out of my cuffs. We're going down the stairs out to the yard. And you got to space off where these red lines are like that. They're spaced off a few feet each. So you wait on that red line until the next guy goes up, gets wanded with the metal detector, front and back, pick up your feet, bottom of your feet, and then if you're good, they say next, and you go out to yard. And the cops are waiting for you because they're all fenced off little yards, 4 of them, Palm Hall and Chino. That's administrative segregation, so we just go out with the Sureños and the Paisas, and then the next yard is for the Woods, the next yard is for the others, and the Bloods, and the Northerners, and then this yard over here is for the Crips. So, anyway, I hide in the room, and I open the door back to be able to watch for the guy I wanted to get, and the homie from Venice, another Indio, but he's from Venice. He said, no, LiL'Mando'Loco, Chewy's brother. He said, from Venice, big Indio, he said, close it, dog, because the hyena's going to see it open. She might come in here to see why it's open and catch you in here. So I did. He go, just play it by ear. So I closed the door. That's what I did. I put my ear up to the door. And then I heard last Southern Mexican walking. I heard send the Crips. So I knew the next dude coming was a motherfucker that was threatening my life over the tier. And I was able to get him before he got me. Anyway, so I heard his voice. I heard, yeah, it's a good day for y'all, cuz, and this and that. And that's when I said, this is that motherfucker right there. I recognized the voice. I came out and I got him, twice here, and then once in the back while he was falling forward. He was handcuffed behind his back. And then the whistle started blowing, and my cellie said they wouldn't even line up for exercises. They were all in a big circle saying, hopefully the homeboy Mondo is okay, because they have a gunner inside the cage too, a gun inside the cage right there inside as well, by where I was making the move, right next to that door where I hid in. The gunner's cage is right there. So they were in a big circle, and he said he got goosebumps when he heard the whistles blowing and he heard the alarm and the cops running back in that were doing the yard release with the cuffs and all that. They went running back in, taking out their billy clubs. And so what I did is I went back into the boardroom, the classification boardroom, which was empty that day because Sunday they don't have no classification, but it's yard release day. So what I did is I threw the shank under that long boardroom table and I cuffed myself back up. And years later, I'm paroling, and I was in deep seg. They put me behind double doors after that hit because they said I was a danger to staff, because that's the second time I had came out of my cuffs. Once for a northerner that attacked me while I was in his cell, handcuffed after fighting with the cops, with the 2 COs. They put me in there to retaliate against me. They beat me down first in a big circle, and with the gloves on, they fucked me up, the goon squad right there in Chino, and then they threw me in Cypress in a northerner cell while I was handcuffed. So while they're walking me to check on for my injuries, because he took off on me one time, and I had my hands behind my back. He was free. He was in the cell with his hands free. That's the way the cops did me. They put me in, handcuffs, him not. He was already in the cell. So when I walked in, he goes, where you from, S? And I go, Longo. east side, and he's like, Charlie, and he took off. Boom, he hit me once. So what I did is I took my legs and I went down on the bottom bump. And when he came to hit me again, I kicked him like that with the feet. Boom. With the jab flaps, and I hit him right here, and he went flying, and he fell against the toilet in a sitting position. I got up and I kicked him again, so he got me, I got him. But when they're walking me to the see, because you have to go in front of a doctor, a nurse, they call it MTA, medical treatment assistant. You have to, anytime an injury happens where there's somebody put hands on you, you have to go to, you guys don't know that, get checked out by the nurse to see if you're okay. So I already knew they were going to bring him because I kicked him too and kneed him in the face, and then hit him with the back of my foot. When he socked me, I hit him with the heel of my foot like that, boom, in the face. So the guard that was at the door saw all that, and he opened the door and grabbed me from the back of my jumpsuit and pulled me out and slammed the gate shut. So he called on the radio, he was all shaking. Hey, I didn't know you guys were enemies. I didn't know he was north, you were south. This order came from the goon squad inside the R&R. I go, yeah, I know, man. The ones that just beat me up. Don't trip. I know you had nothing to do with it. Don't worry. So he walks me down, and then they come and cut this dude up, and they're bringing him. So he took me to the nurse, and I said, oh, nothing's wrong with me, blah, blah, blah. The nurse said, okay, let him go back. Now they're bringing him. They're walking him down the hallway. So I'm talking to Lieutenant Mejia, and he said all of a sudden he just saw my empty jack flaps on the ground and saw me running across the hall with one handcuff hanging. I came out of my cuffs then too, and I socked the dude, bam, bam. His name was Daniel Felix from Redwood. He was a Norteño. I socked him up, and then boom, they said it was tackle of the week, NFL tackle of the week. They tackled me the same hood as Lieutenant Mejia and his sergeant that was walking me back. They tackled me, and they got leg irons from the cage in the Chino Central hallway. They have that cage, that big booth. It opens and closes, a little door opens and closes like that, a sliding door, like on a cabinet door, it looks like, but it's metal. He said, give me the leg irons, and they put leg irons in that little slot that opens and closes, and they pushed it open. He got the leg irons out from the control booth, came and put the leg irons on me, cuffed me back up, and they walked me. So this was the first time I came out of my cuffs. So they made a chrono on my file saying that to double cuff me and all that, to lock the cuffs always because I can come out of them. So they had already wrote that in my file. So when I came out of my cuffs and stabbed that guy in the classification room, I was in deep seg, and I waited 2 years. Finally, the DA from San Bernardino wrote back. They didn't take the case. They didn't pick it up because of staff negligence. I should have never been able to come out of my cuffs again twice that time. Once they had already written in my file that I could slip my handcuffs. So that was their bad, not mine. So they dropped the charge, and I ended up getting kicked out from the hole back to the main line, and I ended up getting in some more shit over there. I mean, I stayed in the hole, man, another riot, another race riot when I got kicked out of the hole. But anyway, so at that time, Daniel, white fence, big Daniel, Black Dan, rest in peace. One great reason why I'm saying something about him, because he can't get in no trouble, it's nothing happening. All this happened years ago anyway, so you can't even write anybody up for all this. This happened 20 years ago. I've been out 19 years, 25 years ago. Nobody can get in trouble. That's the only reason why I'm bringing up Daniel, rest in peace, my big homie, white fence. I was real close to him. He put me in charge of Chino, and something happened where, I ended up having to send a shank upstairs to the third tier, and I was on the second. I had one. I said, whoever's tier comes out for chow, we got to get off, because these guys are disrespecting us over the tier, talking about a riot that they were in with our people and that fuck us, and if it happens, they're going to get off on us here, and blah, blah. They brought that shit that happened in another prison to that prison, and I had already got at them to stop disrespecting over the tier, yelling. And they said, fuck this dude, we run our own. Fuck that kite that he sent up here. We do our thing, we run our own, nobody dictate. Okay, so boom, I said, I sent a kite all the way around to the homies. Should we get off, yay or nay? Everybody wrote yes, let's get off. So I did exactly what Daniel said. Always get at the homies before you make a decision. And whatever all the homies decide, then you roll with that. So that's exactly what I did. Anyway, so now I'm back in the hole, and bats from their soles. They're a big homie from San Diego. Uh, Daniel was already gone. The feds came for him. They took him to the federal detention center, and he was gone. And Bat said, "Hey, Mando, next time call your shots better, homie. You know, all this could have been avoided." And he's right. It could have. You know, I could have talked to their shot caller, to the the Crip shot caller, and all this could have been dealt with in a different way. But I was hot-headed back then. I would always want to, be a warrior, though, that I was, the warrior that I was, always, going up against the enemies and handling business. That was just me, man. That's the way I did things, and they knew it, and they understand. Back then, I understood. That's why he had that long talk with me on the yard when I got into it with the two COs. He said, "Mando, was it worth it? Why didn't you just let him take the wine, dump it out, and make a new batch? Why did you have to, end up fist fighting with them, and now you got a new charge, He says, all that could have been avoided. Next time, use this instead of these, and, use your head more." And he pointed to the granite rock walls, and he said, "See these walls, Mando? We were walking the little Palm Out exercise yard. Daniel would always pick me to walk with him. Anyway," he says, "those granite prison walls, you can't wear those down." He goes, "They've been there since I've been going through this prison system when I was your age, back in the day, much younger than you, 18 years old. I was already coming through these places just like you're doing now." He says, "But those granite rock prison walls have always been there, and they'll always be there long before you're here in this prison and long after you're gone. They'll still be standing right there. You can't wear those prison walls down, but they'll wear you to your grave," he said. And he said, "When you get out, just do your thing, man. Be a good dad to your daughter. She needs you. That's from the treasure chest of all good things, Mongo. You need to be a good dad to that only daughter that you have. Every daughter needs a loving father in her life, and you got to be that man. You have to be that loving father and forget about all this prison life. There's nothing happening in here. Little Mongo, go out there and be somebody." And that's exactly what I did. I took his advice. I never came back. I've been out 19 years now, thanks to Daniel. I listened to his advice. But, the thing with this is that, I want to get this autobiography out in hopes of helping other kids, just the way Daniel helped me out with that conversation we had, that long talk we had about prison walls wearing you to your grave. I want to do that for the next person as well, for the next youngster that might be thinking about joining the barrio life, the homie life, getting jumped into a barrio or what have you. I don't care if you're black, brown, or white, man. Any type of gang activity is pretty much either a death sentence or a life in prison sentence. That's all you're gonna. When you alley up to play with the devil at his table, and you're playing that card game with him, you alley up with your life, man, or your freedom. That's what you alley up with when you gamble against the devil. That's the only thing that you're going to get out of that way of life is either a life in prison sentence or 6 feet under. One of the two. All these scars you see, bullet holes and the bullet lodge in my spine to this day. Man, if I could go back and change that, I would, because now I got a lot of pain in my spine. I got to rely on pain management doctors to prescribe me pain medication. And I feel like I'm a drug addict, man. That's what I feel like. Even though Vegas is a party town, everybody comes here to party, get drunk, get high on weed and drugs, and then go back home and do their 9 to 5 again. They come here a couple of days a month, and a year, I should say, and on their vacation, and they party it down. This is a party town. But I shouldn't be doing that. I'm too old, having to rely on doctors to prescribe me pain medications and what have you because of the bullet lodge in my spine. That way of life will do exactly that, kids. Just a bad thing to get involved in. I got Brother Mike in my life, and Dr. Michael Horton. I call him my brother Mike. He is my brother. He's the only brother that I never had. I love him like a brother, and he helps me so much. He's such a good-hearted man that I owe him a lot. I owe him my life, basically, because he's helped me out so much, helping me to survive out here without family. He's my only family. And you know what? I love my brother Mike. This story is dedicated to him. So later on, I did become a Type 1 wildland firefighter with the U.S. Forest Service, United States Department of Agriculture Forest Service, Type 1 wildland firefighter, certified through the U.S. Forest Service. I went on to become a Type 1 wildland firefighter with the Los Angeles River Ranger District, Santa Clarita, California, the Angeles National Forest. That's the forest that I was assigned to through the federal government as a GS2 at the time. That was my score as a grade GI, the same thing as the Army government score. I think it's called the GS. I was number 2, GS2, at the time when my battalion chief, Dave Conklin hired me. I was working in a factory in downtown LA, the American Apparel T-shirt company, in the shipping department. I was, filling up boxes with their product, T-shirts and stuff that they make at American Apparel, Dov Charney's store, and Sam Lam, I think is his name, the other owner. He's Korean. Anyway, I was working for them, but I was looking for work at Chicano Action Services, which is for women. It was called Chicana Action Services for women that were getting pimped or beat up by their husbands. They would go there, but they also helped men. I was going there, and one time the guy asked me what I did as a juvenile, and I said I was in Camp Mendenhall for a little bit, which is a fire camp. He said, okay, let's look that up. And he looked up USForestServiceJobs.com, and he turned the screen around, and he said, become a Type 1 wildland firefighter. They're good, the pay is good, and the benefits are good. It's federal. And I said, sir, I can't do that. Mr. Reduzco from Chicano Action Services in Los Angeles. I said, I can't do that. I'm an ex-felon. He goes, no, wrong answer. He said, look at the bottom of the page. You see that EOE? That means Equal Opportunity Employment. They hire ex-felons. And I said, what? For reals? And he said, yeah. So he had the girl, Claudia, real pretty Chicana that worked for him, help me to submit my OF306 application for federal employment online. So she helped me type it out. I told him what I did as a juvenile at Camp Mendenhall. I worked with bulldozers and what have you. And we submitted it off to our headquarters in Boise, Idaho, U.S. Forest Service, HR, where they do all the hiring. We submitted my OF306 application for federal employment online, and we sent it to the headquarters, and 3 weeks later I got a call saying that they were considering for the job, that my cert, which is certification, was at Arcadia at the Little Tahunga engine crew fire barracks. And when I got there, Dave Conklin said, no, I'm not going to let you be an engine crew. That's a coal lining crew. They use a water hose to protect the wildfire. He said, no, you're going to a hot lining crew that uses TNT, explosives, C4, plastic explosives, dynamite, TNT, hand tools, scrapers, Pulowskis, chainsaws to cut fire line. We're going to make you a hot shot because of your juvenile camp experience you had as Camp Mendenhall and juvenile LA County camp. He said, based on that experience, we're going to make you a hot shot. Nobody ever does that. They usually go to an engine crew, a couple of years, fire seasons on an engine crew, just using a fire hose to attack the fire, and then boom, later, 2 years later, then you become a hot shot. I went straight to a hot shot crew. And I went to my homeboy Bugsy's crew. Well, they were all gone on a fire my first day at that station. I told Dave Conklin, when I go for the interview, I'm going to have to take all my stuff because I can't pay my rent. I have to pay a pirate taxi driver $100 to drive me to your station in Arcadia from downtown LA. I was living at the Cecil, not the Cecil at the time, the Alexandria. I was staying at the Cecil too. That's another story with Richard Ramirez, the serial killer, and all the people that died mysterious deaths there. I was living there too, that haunted Cecil Hotel. But when I got the job for the Forest Service, I was at the Alexandria on 5th and Spring, downtown LA. So I said, I got to pay this pirate taxi driver to drive me. He thought I was joking. So he said, sure, yeah, just come up. If we hire you, we'll hire you that same day, and you'll go to your station. You won't have to go back to downtown LA. I said, okay. So when I pulled up, that lady couldn't find it. We finally found it on a dirt road in Arcadia, the station, the engine crew station, and she dropped me off there. And when I walked into his office, I was carrying 2 duffel bags. And he said, what's all that? And I said, my stuff. I told you I can't pay the rent down at the hotel at Alexandria. I'm going to have to stay here. He said, so if we don't hire you, you're going to be homeless? And I go, yeah, pretty much. He said, okay. He said, put your bags down. So he interviewed me, and then he called one of the guys from the engine crew. He said, drive him down to Pasadena, get him the physical, then bring him back. So he helped me out. Dave Conklin, the battalion chief, he helped me out, man. He was a good dude. I went down to the Pasadena to their doctor. He gave me a physical, even with the bullet in the spine and everything. He okayed me. I guess he didn't know I had the bullet in the spine. I didn't tell him anyway. So he did the blood pressure test, the temperature, and all that. And he said, "Yeah, he's fine. He cleared me." So the guy drove me back in a fire engine to the station where Dave Conklin was, and that's when Dave said, okay, you're clear to go. There's an opening on a hotshot crew, Bear Divide, and I'm going to put you there because he said your experience as a juvenile in Camp Mendenhall, I'm going to go ahead and put you on a hotshot crew. So he did, and when I got to the station that day, they were gone. The hotshots were gone. Only the engine crew, which is engine crew 19, I believe it was, they were there at the station, but the hotshots were gone on a fire assignment. It was already, fire season was already starting up. So when they got back, they were all full of ash. They were black, their skin full of ash and dirt and stuff from being out in Arizona on a fire assignment. And I'm doing the examination, which is a video, an hour video, and after every hour video, they stop it and you take a written exam. So I was already on my last hour video. It's 36 hours. While they were gone, those few days, I was doing my written exams after each hour video. So they talked about, the fire topography and, what's the, the fire triangle, what's the 3 elements is oxygen, heat, and fuel. That's the fire triangle, oxygen, heat, and fuel. Stuff like that make you watch these videos and then you do a test, a written exam. And I passed it all. So on my 3rd day, they get back. And I hear, hey, little Mando, what's up, homie? And I was shocked to hear that. I'm like, whoa, in a fire station at the Bear Divide Ranger Station in Fire Barracks, somebody's calling me little Mando. And I turn and I look and I go, who's that? And he goes, it's me, Bugsy, Russo's brother. And I go, what, little Bugsy? And he goes, yeah, man, what's up, dog? And he gave me a hug and shit. So God put me on his crew for a reason, see? Because it was so hard, the training, the PTs, the physical training and all that, that I was ready to quit at times. And my homeboy Bugsy would say, he would see me ready to drop my backpack, that heavy-ass backpack, and my tool, threw it on the ground, and just ready to take the web belt off and everything in the backpack and throw it down and walk off the job. But he would say, no, Mando, do it for your daughter, homie. You're going to better yourself with this job. Just don't listen to the battalion. The superintendent, Mike, he was an asshole. He didn't like me. He kept calling me inmate. But he said, all that is just to make you mad because he wants you to go off and so he can fire you. Just handle it, dog, for your daughter. Do it for her, for little Haiti. He already had met her at his cousin, his daughter, his niece, Selena, and my daughter are first cousin. Because I introduced his brother Russo to my sister-in-law, Cuddy. And they became friends, and then they became lovers, and they had a kid together, and they had a few kids together. So that makes his niece Selena my daughter's first cousin. See, so he's like, do it for your little daughter Haiti, his family basically, not through blood but through marriage. Selena is Haiti, my daughter's cousin. So he's like, do it for her, Mando, and I'd put the backpack back on and just keep hiking. Oh my God, it was strenuous, but I got certified. I ended up passing everything, and I proved Mike the superintendent around. I showed him this inmate is badass and can hang. Motherfucker calling me inmate because he knew I just got out of prison. Anyway, so I lived through all that madness, and I was able to complete the test, and now I'm a full-fledged USDA Forest Service Bird of White hotshot. I'm going out on fire assignments with the homie, fighting different fires. Everything was going good until they wanted to get rid of me because my hotshot position was just one position open, and there's only so many, 21 of us on the crew. Let me see. 3, 6, 7, 8, 16, 17, 8. There's only 20 of us on the crew, and one of those positions I took, and the other division chief, which is higher than Dave Conklin, the battalion chief that hired me, the division chief is higher than him, Dick McCombs. He wanted that spot for his grandson, so I got caught up in the politics of it, and they ended up getting rid of me months later through my parole. They told my parole agent, that I was having to leave on off-force assignment, sometimes OFF off-force assignment to other countries, the Philippines, for volcano eruptions, because we're interagency. That means we enter other agencies. Volcano eruption in the Philippines or earthquake in Mexico, and my parole officer that I had before, he was all good with it, but I got a new one named Marquez. I didn't have Castro anymore. Castro was cool. He's like, don't worry about it, Mondo, just send me a written report wherever you're at. That's good enough. But he got promoted to LA County screening, so he's no longer Long Beach parole. So they got a new idiot that was named Marquez, and he was an asshole, man. He didn't want me being a firefighter, so he got me fired. He said, no, he can't leave the state of California or the country without written permission. He's on high security parole because, he paroled from IXA, from what a lot of people nowadays call the SHU. But anyway, so he's on high security. He can't just be leaving the country or the state without written permission. Long story short, they got me fired. So now I'm back downtown LA. Now I'm at the Cecil. I started slinging dope again with the homies from 18 down there. I'm the only dude from Longo down there. Richard Ramirez is coming to buy from us, the night crawler, we used to call him. We didn't know it was a night stalker. We used to say, here comes that night crawler motherfucker. He would come with a backpack full of jewelry and guns sometimes, and watches, and some would be costume jewelry, some would be the real deal, real solid gold rings and bracelets. I guess from other people he was murdering, he was taking their stuff, and he had a crack habit, so we would sell to him, sometimes trade him for his jewelry, sometimes he would have cash, and we would do a cash transaction with him for the rock that we were selling. And I later on, I get busted, and I go to the LA County jail, and I'm at the front of the bus in the high power module, because I had already stabbed a Long Beach Crip named Tracy Wesley, because he was doing drive-bys on my hood and bragging about it in the county jail. And I was only dude from Longo. Me and Lobo from Barrio Viejo were only two dudes from Longo in the holding tank. Another dude was from Venice, and Sharky from Venice, and the Wood Pee-wee from Downtown Stoners, and Rocky from Weemas, this big guy. There was only like 7 homies, and it was like 20 gripos. And that dude Tracy kept talking about fuck Chongo, and he did a drive-by on the homie. And the homie that he did a drive-by on was my homies from the Playboys, Arnie and Playful. You homies know what I'm talking about. They were, before Playboys, they were Latin Times Playboys. Just a clique, and they rode little scooters with collages on them, of like a mirage or a pyramid or whatever. Real nice paintings on their custom paint jobs that they usually put on lowriders on their scooters, and they were a scooter clique called the Latin Times Playboys, and we made them Eastside Longo Playboys later on. So that fool shot up the homie Arnie and Playful's pad, and he kept bragging about it in the holding tank. So I got tired, and I said, hey, what's up, S.A.? What's up, fool? I'm from Longo. What's up? You got beef with my barrio? You can handle it right here. Like, you're over here disrespecting my hood. I'm in the tank. I'm tired of your loud mouth. What's up? You wanna get down? And he goes, everybody get up on the seats, because the seats go all the way around the holding tank like that. You know, long seat, a bench, long bench that's connected to the wall. A long bench like that, and then turns and it comes back this way. Long bench attached to the wall too. He said, everybody get up on the seats. Everybody get up on the seats, and so we could have the whole floor. And they got up along the wall there. That walkway. It looks like a little walkway, but it's really a seat. Everybody get up on the seats. So they had their backs against the wall, up off the floor now, against, their feet standing on that long seat that goes all the way around the holding tank. So now we have the whole floor, and he goes, "What's up? Let's get down there." So he was a martial arts expert. He started doing all these kicks and kneeing me and elbowing me, and I'm doing my boxing, and catching this fool with some shots, man, busting him up. He's busting me up with the kicks and shit. And they finally run in, but before they run in, they stood along the bars that's between the little wall, and there's a little walkway with bars all the way down, and the guards could look in along the bars, and they all were against the bars looking in, watching us fight. It was a good fight, and they let us go at it, and they were watching the guards and the marshals from up in the courtrooms. They came down, and I remember this one fine Chicana, after we started tiring out, he started like wrestling with me now, and we're on the ground. I'm on top of him, hitting him, boom, boom, boom. Then he get on top of me, hit me, boom, boom, boom. Then I get on top of him, boom. We were on the ground, and that's when they ran in, and they pulled him and me apart, boom. And the Chicana came up. She had a county jail white towel, inmate towels, a clean one. She had it all folded, and she's got the blood off my mouth. She goes, "You did pretty good for being a little Mexican. You did really good." I said, "Gracias." And then I told him, as they were getting us up, I said, "This is for the raza," because that song from Kid Frost, it just came out. So I told him that. I said, "This is for the raza," and she liked that. So she started patting my mouth. She was fine. You guys know what I'm talking about, the homies with the long, beautiful hair. The Chicana is a marshal back then in the 90s, in the 2000s, early 2000s. Anyway, so she's patting my mouth, and we go back to the county. They put him on a separate bus and me on a separate bus, and then we go back to court the next day. Pee-wee is going to trial too, the Wood from Downtown Stoners. He has Longo. He's all sleeved up, Longo on his stomach, because Downtown Stoners claim Long Beach Longo. A lot of those Woods got that tatted on them, Longo. Anyway, so we got into it again, and that time on the way back on a different bus, they separated us again. They made him a K2 and me a K3. That means he stays on the second hallway floor, and I stay on the third hallway floor. We can't go, when you have a blue wristband, you can't go on the third floor because you're a K2. Same thing for a K3. You can't go on the second floor of dorms, or cell blocks, because you're a K3. You don't belong on the second floor. You can't even be on that floor. That's what they did. They made us K2 and K3 to separate us. And so the next day I go to court again. We fought again. They separated us. And then he told Pee-wee, "I should fuck you up, white boy, because I know you're backing up your homeboy Mondo from Longo. Fuck that fool. I'm going to stab him." So he told me this. Pee-wee did. When we got back to the LA County Jail holding tanks, he said, "Yeah, he threatened to stab you." I said, "All right." So I went back to 3800 that night, and I told the trustees, "Hey, man, I need a shank. This fool's talking about shanking me when I go to court tomorrow morning." So they went and got me a shank. Put a towel, ripped up a sheet, put a handle on it for me, and gave me a nice little tube that goes in the guards, coffee, where the coffee water spits up through that little tube to the top where the grounds are. They gave me that. They broke it and gave me the little piece. So I sharpened it and put a towel sheet, ripped the sheet, and made a handle on it, and walked to early morning breakfast, ate breakfast, and went down to the holding tanks to wait for court. And my fat homeboy was down there, Hitman. I said, "Hey, homie, what's up? You want in on this? I'm going to run up in that cell right now and stab Tracy." And he's like, "Nah, I'm going home, dog. I don't want no part of it. I just got a warrant." I said, "All right, I got this." And I ran in there, got him, and I heard 415 inmates only, Long Beach holding tank. So they come get me, they get him. We're seeing the stab marks on his arm and his chest that I just did, and they're taking me out like this. One guard has this arm, the other one has this hand, and they got me all bent over, taking me out. And then I hear code 4, that means everything's back to normal. Long Beach holding tank, code 4. So all the cops stopped running there because it was over with. Then all of a sudden I hear code 415 inmates only again, and they say Long Beach holding tank. Fucking Pee-wee ran into the wood and got him too. So they had to run back in there, the cops, and they got Pee-wee now like that. One arm here, one arm here. They put us in the holding tank, in the stand-up holding tanks, where it's just room for one person for the high-power module. And they stripped to search us, and he got Longo on his stomach. I got Longo on mine. And we're saying we don't know each other. I never seen him in my life. I don't know who that wood is. He doesn't know who I am. And then the sergeant looks and sees Longo on my stomach, and then he goes back into the other stand-up cage where they're strip searching Pee-wee, and he sees Longo on his stomach. Then he comes back and he sees the Longo on my stomach, and he goes, "Oh, bullshit, these guys are our homeboys. This was a gang hit. They're both from Longo." He goes, "Put both of them in high power." So we ended up in high power. Pee-wee later got killed at New Folsom in a riot up there, black and brown riot. Back then it was on and cracking between the brown and black, and they shot a live round into the weights pile, the weight pile back then. There was weights everywhere. Back then you could have weights, and one of the bullets hit the weights and ricocheted, and it hit Pee-wee in the head, killing him. Rest in peace, Pee-wee. But we ended up in the high power module, and that was a good dude, man. Pee-wee, rest in peace. But anyway, so I mean, this is the kind of stuff that is like on a daily basis, walking around. When I was still on the main line with Weddle from Eastside Weedmon's Johnny, walking around, I got a blade in my mouth from visiting. After visiting, we roamed the halls and we'd catch TRGs in the hallway. We'd make all the Asians take their shirt off. If they didn't have TRG, we'd let them go on their way. If they had TRG, they were getting cut. That's when they had the green light. So, I mean, this kind of shit was like everyday thing for me behind bars, man. You know, it was putting in work was the name of the game for this motherfucker right here, for this Longuero. And so I stayed in the hole. You know, I stayed slammed down with new charges and, you know, an ad charge and disciplinary write-ups. Back then, you couldn't go to the main line if you were a known gang member, like I was from Eastside Longo, and plus you were known to have, you know, friends that were, you know, big guys, and if you had that type of reputation, you couldn't go to the main line. So I stayed in high power because I knew all of them guys. They were my friends, you know. I'd done time with them and shit, so I wasn't nobody special, but I was friends of them, and so, you know, I stayed slammed down. I stayed in XA. Back in the day when Soledad was the shoe, Palm Hall was the shoe. They didn't have Pelican Bay or Corcoran back then, or Tehachapi. It came way later too. Back then it was just Soledad, O-Wing, Palm Hall, Chino, San Quentin, Folsom, DVI, Tracy. Those were the shoes back then, you know, 80s, 90s. But anyway, so, you know, that dude Richard Ramirez, I saw him on the front of the bus, and I'm in jail now waiting to go to CCB because I got caught downtown LA slinging. They gave me a sales charge, and I'm looking at my transcripts like this in the front of the bus. There's 4 little cages, 2 little cages. You can put 2 dudes in one cage and 2 dudes from high power in one cage, so it's like 4 people in 2 little cages up front of the bus. But I was alone, and in the front it was empty, and I heard the gate open and close, and I said, "That's just some other inmate they're putting up front there." And I'm looking at my transcripts, and I hear, "Hey, Long Beach," and I look up, and it was him, Richard Ramirez. He's behind the other fence in that little cage that's in front of the one I'm in. Like I said, there's 2 of them. I was in the second one, he was in the first one. And he goes, "Yeah, I got caught for a bunch of murders." And he goes, "You know who I am?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you're Tejas," the guy we used to call him Tejas because he's from Texas. And we all knew that, so we called him Tejas, but behind his back we would call him the Nightcrawler. And I'm like, yeah, you're Tejas. He goes, no, I'm the Night Stalker. He goes, I'm the guy that killed all those people. He was just bragging about it. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, whatever. All right, Tejas. I got to get back into my court proceedings, and I went back to reading my transcripts for my case. So I said, shit, when I get off this bus, I'm going to have to whack this fool. And I had the razors, the same razor blade that I always carry in my mouth in cardboard, from the toilet paper roll, the cardboard. And I had it in my mouth so I didn't cut myself while it's in my mouth. So I said, as soon as I get off this fucking bus, if I have access to this fool, because they might take both of us at the same time, being that we're both high-power module 1750, I can get him. So I was already planning on cutting this motherfucker, but no, they took him off the bus first, a sergeant and a senior. They walked off with him, then they came back and got me. They had wind that people wanted to kill his ass for being a rapo, a child molester too. I think he raped a little girl. Anyway, so, while I was there, I met the Hillside Stranglers, Angelo Bono, Kevin Bianchi, the model, photographer, serial killer. He was there when I was taking girls up into the Hollywood Hills and saying he was a photographer for a magazine and taking pictures of them and then killing them. The Hillside Stranglers, Angelo Bono, Dave Bianchi, the one that was strangling girls and raping them. They owned a upholstery shop. One of them, they were Italians. One of them at FTR. Back then it was Frogtown Riverside, I believe. But now it's Frogtown Rifa. FTR stands for Rifa. The R, it used to be Riverside Drive, I think, back in the day in the 70s. But they changed it. But anyway, he had FTR right here. And one day I asked him, I was in my one-man cell at the High Power Module 1700, Abel Roll. He was there too. And he goes, oh, it stands for Frogtown Rifa. And I'm like, oh, you're from that old barrio Frog. He's like, yeah. Later, the homies told me from Frogtown, Chico, the one that had the 49 Fleet Line. I was in the county with them, and he said, yeah, that the dude, Angelo Bono, he was from his hood, from Frogtown, and he had an upholstery store up there by the LA River, northeast LA, over there by, what's that neighborhood called up there? Where Tunerville is, it's like Eagle Rock and all that. We're up there by the LA River. That's where Frogtown is. Anyway, he said that, that the dude had an upholstery shop in their hood, and that's why they jumped him into their hood, because he had money and shit. But yeah, he was a serial killer. I was there with O.J. Simpson. I got caught up in a cell extraction where we got down with the cops and we didn't give our trays. We kept challenging them, come in and get the tray, motherfuckers, because they didn't give us our canteen or commissary, so we fought with them. And all of us went to the hospital. I went to the hospital because they broke 2 taser hooks off in my forehead here and here in my temple, and I had to have them surgically removed. They broke all the bones in my face. They shot me with all the different block guns, the paintball guns with the mace inside. Then the block gun afterwards, I still didn't give up the tray. Then they maced me with the fire extinguisher. I was all orange. I still didn't give up my tray. Then they threw a grenade with pepper balls everywhere. Boom! And that didn't get me to give up my tray. So then they said, okay, now open the cell. And they ran in the groomers. Big ass 6'4", big horn-fed white guy leading the charge with the shield and all the helmets on, the riot gear. Boom, they smashed me against the wall and they beat me down, hit me with the billy clubs, and then the last thing they did was shoot me. They handcuffed me, they turned me around because they thought I called the shot, because I was the only older dude on the tier that time. So they shot me here and here with the tasers, and then they turned me over and they shot me with 2 tasers here in the chest. So I had to have those surgically removed, and the ones in my forehead and temple surgically removed. And it took me back to LCMC, General Hospital, where I was born, in a patrol car to have those removed surgically. And my bones and broken bones tended to. So I'm telling you, that hospital where I was born seen me many times later on as an adult, as a juvenile too, having to get bones reset or taser hooks removed. I mean, my life was just that right there. It was a crazy life. Mi vida loca. A crazy life for the 3 dots. over my cross stands for me, Vida Loca. That's what the 3 dots over the cross stands for in my hand. You can't see it right now because it's dark, but anyway, yeah, so kids, think about it, is it worth it? Do you want to be in jail the rest of your life or 6 feet under at a young age? Like most of my homeboys didn't live to see 19 years old. The majority of them got killed or died very early in their lives. Most of my homeboys died at a young age. Gizmo and his brother Little Ray, they died real young. 2 brothers. One got killed, and then later on, the other one. And then my homeboys that I fought with, head up. One of the best fights I ever had in my life was with him, Sniper, and then his brother Darky. They both got killed. There's only one of them left. But anyway, that's the way the gang life goes. You're banging. Your life is always on the line, and your freedom is always on the line. And sooner or later, like I said, you're going to lose when you're gambling against the devil. When you ante up, not alley up, ante up. That's what I want to say. When you ante up, gamble against the devil, you ante up with your life or your freedom. And that's the only 2 things that you'll get out of that card game with the devil. Life imprisonment or death. Or a bullet in your spine like I got. So think about it, kids. That's about it. Later. Take care. This is once again for my brother Mike. Later.